What is up, everybody? My name is Ryosu, and you already know what time it is. We are back on Attack on Titan Revolution. So in my last video, I finally got my hands on the female Titan serum after doing 190 female Titan aberrant raids, and let's just say that process was pretty painful and pretty difficult. I used over 15 plus hours of luck boost, went through over 100 Emperor keys, and all I got was both good loot, which was mythic perks, female Titan shards, and maybe some of the legendary cosmetics, but I also got really crappy loot like common perks, rare perks, and even those epic perks. And don't get me started on how much rings, scarves, and hoodies I have, because I honestly have way too much of them, and I don't even know what to even do with all of them. And after I finally got the female Titan serum, I spent some time maxing out the female Titan, which did take, I would say, at least a day or so. But once I finally maxed out my female Titan, I then wanted to make the best female Titan build possible. So I went to YouTube, did a little bit of research on the best female Titan builds on the internet right now, and let's just say there's some pretty crazy builds that are capable of doing over 1 million damage M1s, and like I said, they're M1s, not just pure skills. And I was like, what the actual heck, I must create a build like this. However, with all these very high damage female Titan builds, there's one main thing that they all share, and you could probably guess it by now. It is the mythic Fritz family. And if you know anything about me and his channel alone, you will know that whenever I want something, I typically do not ever get it. And I alone have already spent thousands of rerolls trying to get Fritz and even the new Helos family, and let's just say I have gotten no signs or no luck at all in trying to get these mythic families. And you guys also might be thinking, oh, Ryosu, why don't you just trade for Fritz or Helos? Well, obviously, if you are trading for Fritz, you definitely need to have a lot of trade value, a lot of good items, and me personally, I don't really have a lot of that. Yes, I might have some OG items that might help me get Fritz. I still don't believe I can still trade for Fritz, and I still need to work my way up, and eventually, hopefully, in the future, I might be able to trade for Fritz, but as of now, it's definitely not going to happen. However, although I do not have Fritz, I might have something that is somewhat equivalent to it when it comes to female Titan builds, and that is the Leanheart family. And after experimenting and testing with different perks, memories, and artifacts, I believe I have finally cracked the code into making one of the best female Titan Leanheart builds in the game. So in this video, I'll be showcasing you guys a Leanheart female Titan build that you guys can use if you do not have Fritz, but you do have Leanheart. So without further ado, let's get straight into the showcase. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off the showcase video with the skill tree. So let's go ahead and go to that real quick. And boom, this is the skill tree, and obviously we are using the Leanheart family. And unfortunately, with the Leanheart family, you do not get any extra like perk slots, like the defensive perk slot and a support perk slot from like the Fritz family, which is kind of sad. However, you do get shifter regen, which is better than nothing, and pretty much with shifter regen, you're able to regenerate your health and heal up to 2 injuries, which is pretty good if you tend to take like a lot of damage and get injured pretty easily. But more specifically, with the Leanheart family, you do get plus 10% Titan run speed, plus 10% female Titan stats, and plus 10% damage. So overall, it really isn't that bad of a clan, especially if you're pairing it up with the female Titan itself. But moving on with the rest of the skill tree, so going down, obviously we are going down the right side of the support skill tree, the right side of the offensive skill tree, and the left side of the defensive skill tree right here. So it's pretty typical with most builds, nothing really too crazy. Looking more at the skills that I have equipped, I am running Flashbang as my first slot, Combustive Counter as my second slot, Hellfire Barrage as my third slot, Shifter Regen as my fourth slot, and Shifting at my fifth slot. Alright, so now moving on to the perks, I am rocking only 4 different perks. So let's go ahead and start off with the offensive perk right here. And for my offensive perk, I am using Black Flash, and the reason why I am using Black Flash is because it does allow me to do more damage with my crits. More specifically, it allows me to deal maximum damage for every crit, which is very helpful if you're trying to do as much damage as possible. Now moving on to my body slot or core slot, I did convert this slot into another offensive perk slot, and for that slot I am using Art of War, which pretty much allows me to do more damage because it does increase shifter damage by 40%, which is honestly pretty good. And also, if you're running any Titan build in general for damage, you definitely want to have at least Art of War, or maybe War Chief if you do not have Art of War. For my support slot, I am using Soul Feed, and the reason why I am using Soul Feed is because I do notice that whenever I do use the female Titan, I tend to take a lot of damage and lose a lot of HP, and by using Soul Feed, it does help keep my HP up because with each Titan kill, I do gain 1.5% HP. So overall, I just find this perk pretty useful for staying alive in the female Titan form. And lastly, for my defensive perk slot, I am rocking Adaptation, and the reason why I'm rocking Adaptation adaptation over something like immortal is because with adaptation, I'm able to adapt to certain moves after being attacked 2 times by that move. So for example, I can adapt to like Aaron's punches, Aaron's stomp, and after adapting to those attacks, I can already take damage from those attacks, which will allow me to stay onto Aaron longer, which allows me to land more M1 shots. And moving on to my memories, I am using Gambler, Apotheosis, Furry Forge, and Quake Strike, and to be honest with you, I do think this is a pretty solid lineup. Now obviously, if you are only doing purely female Titan raids, using a memory like Quake Strike will not be useful because literally no Titan spawn in the female Titan raid itself, so Quake Strike is kind of useless in female Titan raids. So if I was doing pure female Titan raids, I would probably replace Quake Strike with something like Storm Charge, which increases damage by 3% for each shifter present in the match, or I might use something like Cooldown Blitz, which increases skill cooldown reduction by 10% in order to use my moves faster. And if you do happen to have Fritz, you may even want to consider replacing Quake Strike and Furry Forge with something like Omni Range and Tactician in order to make more use of your Founder's Order buff. Alright, so now moving on to the artifacts, I am rocking the scars with shifter damage right here, and I'm also rocking the hoodie with also shifter damage right here. So pretty much shifter damage all around because we are going for doing as much damage as possible. And now finally, moving on to the female Titan skill tree itself. As you guys can see right here, I do have most of the skills maxed out besides the eject skill right here, which I don't believe matters if you max it out or not. But now moving on to the actual skills that I am using for the female Titan. For my first slot, I do have my hardening ability. For my second slot, I do have the sidekick. My third slot for my roundhouse kick. My fourth slot for my grapple. And for my fifth slot, I do have shriek. For the mimicry passive, I do have the attack Titan copy right here, which grants me an extra 15.4% stats on the hardening ability, but increases its cooldown by 7.4 seconds. And obviously, I do have my resonance tree maxed out right here, which does have, I believe, 6 levels right here. So yeah, so that's pretty much my Leanheart female Titan build. So let's go ahead and jump into a raid, and let me go ahead and showcase you guys how good this build really is. Alright, so we're now in a female Titan raid, and for the modifiers I do have on Nightmare, both for the injuries, fog, and time trial. And the reason why I don't have Audible on is because this build, to be honest with you, isn't that good at surviving with Audible on when it comes to soloing. And I believe it's because I don't have the Founder's Order skill that comes with the Fritz family. So I think that's why my build isn't that good when it comes to surviving and healing efficiently. So that's why we don't have Audible on. But overall, without Audible on, the build's actually pretty decent. So let me go ahead and get my shift bar filled up a little bit more. So let's go ahead and use some more Thunder Spears up. And there we go. So let's go ahead and shift. And obviously, I do have the Easter female Titan skin, which honestly looks pretty cool in my opinion. But let's go ahead and test out this build. So let's use our roundhouse kick into our side kick. So 2 mil there, 900k there, which is not bad. Now let's get to the M1s. There we go. All right, there we go. So we're getting 500k M1s, roughly 300k right there. 500k M1s, 600k. Should get around 700k pretty soon. There we go. And boom, skip the cutscene again. Let's pop our shriek to get some HP. And let's go ahead and finish off Aaron real quick. So boom, at once, 300k, 400k. So we're averaging around 300k, 400k now. Honestly, just let it charge up. Boom, 500k. And holy crap, we just took a lot of damage. So a side kick, 1.7. Roundhouse kick, another 1 mil. We might want to heal a bit just in case, but as you can see, with adaptation I can actually stay on Aaron a lot easier, which is pretty useful because without adaptation, I tested this with Immortal actually, it's pretty hard to stay on Aaron and actually get efficient M1 damage. But with adaptation, it's really easy to get M1 damage like this and just stay on Aaron. So let's go ahead and finish off Andy now. So let's go ahead and do our side kick, 900k. So through my testing alone, my side kick can definitely get up to around 2 mil, I believe. And with my roundhouse kick, I could probably get around maybe like 1.7-ish around there. So it's honestly not bad damage. So let's go ahead and finish off Annie real quick. And she should die pretty fast. And holy crap, it just took so much damage there. Like so. There you go. Easy. Let's go ahead and open up our free chest real quick. Let's see if we get anything good. And obviously, it's going to be pretty crappy loot. There you go. So let's see how long it took us to finish this raid. It took us roughly 2 minutes and 49 seconds. So honestly, I would say that's not too bad with a build like this. Obviously, if you do have Fritz, you're probably going to be able to do more damage, thus having a much faster run overall. Alright, so let's go ahead and now test out this build in an attack time raid to see how much damage these M1s can truly do. So boom, we're now on to phase 2. And now let's go ahead and test out some of our skills real quick. So let's go ahead and test out our roundhouse kick. And that's doing roughly 900k damage. Let's test out our side kick real quick. That's doing 1.1. So honestly, nothing really too crazy. But let's go ahead and test our M1s now. Let's go ahead and let it charge up. So 400k, about to hit 500k. There we go. 700k. All right, boom, 800k now. All right, 1 million. Okay, so we're now reaching the official 1 million mark. And now Aaron just popped his berserk mode. So this build can definitely hit that 1 million damage. But as you can see, we are doing some pretty solid M1 damage. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish off Aaron real quick, see how fast we can actually do this raid. And there we go. So boom. But let's see how fast we finished it. We finished it in about 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Honestly, not too bad. So honestly, it's pretty solid. Overall, I would say this build works best if you do have a buffer on your team so that you get that little bit of extra damage that you lack since you do not have Fritz. In terms of like overall solo ability, I would say this build is only okay for that. I mean, it does struggle a lot with Oddball on because it just struggles with like survivability because it just takes too much damage and it just doesn't heal as efficiently. But anyways, guys, this is the end of today's video. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to press that like button and subscribe for more Attack on Titan Revolution content. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys think this is a solid Leanheart build or not. Let me know if you guys have any other recommendations that I could add to this build. But I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, peace, peace.